Allahu Akbar.
So we're going to do an exercise so we can understand why we are going to discuss about strengthening the organization. Okay, so I'm going to say something and all of us going to repeat it with me, but in one voice.
You will agree that there is no question you will disagree with that.
Yeah, no options. Ready? Inshallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I think as you have seen that the format is we are more encouraging the participants to take part in this discussion or the conversation. So, two new rules as we are evolving our presentations. So, one is in this organizational part, especially. So, what we will be doing, we will be asking first the member of any chapter to respond, and then after his response, we will be asking the president of that chapter to respond. So whatever is the gap is, that's the chapter president's responsibility, correct? Sorry, what, you're saying something? Huh? Okay, we will tell you. It's okay. So you are the responsible for both then. So one rule is this, participants, the members will be responding first and we will be requesting. So as I have seen that one regional president we have here and 6 chapter presidents. Right now I'm seeing 3 here. Brother Asan, please raise or stand up the chapter presidents. Brother Frank, Brother Asan, and okay, one more regional president here. So 4 chapter presidents and 5 chapter president, and if one by one, Tariq Zamir Bhai is already standing. So who is from Central Jersey? Stand up with him right now. From the Central Jersey, members of Central Jersey, other than of the Tariq Bhai Halaqa. So where are the rest of brothers, Tariq Bhai? So okay, so one thing is that immediately you will be calling them, and the second is we will be asking first question from them, and then you will be given the chance to respond on their response. So see how is there any gap of understanding the organization. And Brother Frank, you have your member with you? Okay, Brother Riaz is here. And Brother Junaid, how many members you have now? 3, but you have, I think, list of more than 10 members. Yeah, okay. So please use your local contact, urgent contact. And then we have Brother Asan. So you have already all of your, including Hussein Bhai. Okay. so okay. So one thing is that, and then second is what we will be doing is more kind of so we will be giving our other facilitators the chance at the end. So as Javed Bhai was describing that, we flip that thing. So what, maybe I'm wrong, but I observed that our facilitators were also facilitating these sessions too. So it is good, always good, we encourage. But we will inshallah give you the chance at the end. So whatever is missing, you will inshallah cover that to give more chance to our participants inshallah. So okay, what the format is, as you have seen on that particular, you already got that. So that program. So there are two aspects of this one presentation. One is the total is strengthening the organization. First is more related to the conceptual part, and the second part will be more a functional area where we will be discussing the neighbor nets and study circles and how to improve the membership and the process, and maybe from there ILF part is so that part inshallah. And both, as you have seen that multiple presenters will be inshallah sharing with and that. So first and foremost is strengthening the organization, but why organization? Everyone is clear on this why and this objective. So organization is objective or means? Huh? It itself, it is, I mean, it's understood. It's what about the second thing? Optional or obligatory? So you cannot do without organization good work? One by one.
Raise your hands.
Because they are recording also.
And use the mic only, please.
Okay. So, yes, brother.
Use the mic.
And give, if you have any hadith and Quran reference, yeah, please give that also.
It's optional because there is a lot of work you can do as an individual without having ties with any organization.
Okay.
Organization just helps you basically leverage the resources that the organization provides to actually execute more upon what you're trying to do with the other additional resources. Otherwise, it's just gonna, if you have the capability, you can run on your own.
Okay.
But as a Muslim, when you look at the ummah coming together for the sake of good and trying to help each other in achieving those goals.
So who is saying organization is obligatory? Who is saying?
Yeah, I think that's obligatory because
So
you can do optional by yourself, but you cannot do a lot.
Okay.
As we say, 1 and 111, and there's a good way, good path to work on it. It
Okay.
is kind of a highway organization, and you can do faster and better than individual.
Okay. So who has not spoken yet? Just raise the hand. Anyone? You? Lal bhai, yes. Okay, Subhan bhai also. We will be going quickly inshallah, so be brief and
جديد أمركم بخمس بالجمعة والسماء والطاعة والهجرة والجهاد في سبيل الله. So this is a hadith Qudsi. As per this hadith, Jama is Allah said you gotta do 5 things. The first Jama, and then after
okay. Brother Subhan, just quickly and then inshallah we will move forward. Brother Subhan in the back. Abdul Subhan.
Assalamu alaikum.
Aisa.
Yes, organization is obligatory because one person cannot reform anything without collective activities. So the Jama is important for organization.
Okay.
That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, chapter 3, chapter 3, وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ.
Okay, Jazakallah.
That means the people you have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, then you should have a group of people that they can work together and they will call the people to the way of Allah, and they will order the people to do the good deed and prevent the people from the unjust deed. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, so inshallah we will move forward, and as just to remind again, Naveed Bhai is already here, Brother Naveed, and so what we decided earlier, what we are agreeing upon the format, that we will give in the couple of next slides, we will give the chance first the member of certain chapters, correct?
Assalamu alaikum. Just to add one thing about the organization, I believe also that it is obligatory but I think it should be representative of the overall Islamic population account.
Yeah, we will, as we will move forward, we will see that we shared this example before. I don't know, some of you already remember that. Wudu is fard or nafil? Wudu. Fard? Wudu is fard? Huh? Wudu is fard? Not fard? Who says wudu is fard? So wudu is fard. You can pay zakat without wudu, correct? So wudu is itself not fard, correct? You can pay zakat without wudu. But what makes wudu fard is salah. One fard is making another fard, another nafil or optional thing fard, correct? So we will inshallah come that if we will be discussing that how this work is not possible without an jama'ah, after seeing this whole holistic concept, then this jama'ah itself becomes an obligation, not an optional thing. So we will inshallah come on that. So let's move forward. As we discussed before that, we will be giving the chance to the member of particular chapter, and then we will be giving the chance to that chapter's president to give the response. So this next slide, again, kind of a quiz. And what we will be doing is that what's the difference between Islamic movement and the other organizations, or ICNA or other organization? What's your understanding of having that thing? This is just a slide we shared before. And what's the difference between an Islamic movement? Because we already gone through with some of our concepts. So we think that ICNA is an Islamic movement. So how it is different than any other organization? Because you are the member of ICNA, correct? So why ICNA? We need to challenge ourselves, question ourselves that why ICNA? Why not other organization we can work to get with? So what's the basics of any difference with the, so just to brother Naveed here. Okay, so let's start with this chapter, closest one. So who will be representing your chapter as a member? Naveed, you want to volunteer someone from your chapter? Huh? Who is from the Baltimore? Who is from Baltimore area? Any brother? Three brothers. I'm raising the hand. So okay, you are volunteering, Haris. Okay. So Nafe, what do you think? Abdul Nafe. What's the difference? And one person will be just saying the one thing.
So for ICNA specifically, it's based on the principles that we are doing all of this for the sake of Allah, and then the Islamic movement comes in that we learn together like the Islamic values, and apply that to our families and to our brothers and all that.
So one major you think, but you think that other organizations don't do this? But no, the point you will be specifically talking about, so we are just making that difference. So okay, one point you mentioned already. So
can I further elaborate upon that?
Not elaborate, add something.
Add something, yeah. So it's not only in accordance with Islamic principles, but it's the establishment of Islamic principles. It's taking the knowledge and putting it into action within small groups, then communities, and then entire regions, so that we can make it acceptable within today's world, so that people understand what it means to establish something.
Okay, so give to Naveed what he needs to add.
So what am I saying?
So they are correct, or you think that
it sounds good to me? I mean, can't add much more to it.
Nothing. You cannot add anything.
What
after you, the regional president's turn is after, so he needs to add something then.
I think it's pretty good for now.
For now, Anything else comes in your mind, because you are working in different entities? So what the difference you feel that with the ICNA and the other organization? Why you are working for ICNA, not other organizations?
I mean, the biggest thing is, going back to the concept of Islamic movement compared to other organizations, is that, so the biggest thing is, again, how we're assembling ourselves in a way to take the deen in the best of our ability, and to really like implement into our lives the Tarbiyah aspect and everything, versus other orgs. They might have a specific purpose or job task or whatnot, whereas ICNA has like the full, if you will, package to go about with everything.
Okay, Arif bhai, you want to add something?
Regional president,
So, member,
keep on going
president, and regional president. So,
add on to that, the totality of the message is, as Brother Naveed said, that it's not only one aspect of our lives, rather than total aspect of the life, and not only just learning the thing, but implementing them.
okay, so now New Jersey chapter. So who is volunteering from the members to add something? This is challenge for the president also, how much he taught you. So, okay. And it's our challenge also that if we didn't communicate. Yes, brother.
Alaikum warahmatullah. I'll just take a moment to introduce myself too. This is my first time here. Subhu Jamshed from New Jersey. It's a pleasure to be with you, alhamdulillah. For me, Islamic movement, I think it differentiates from other organizations, especially for ICNA, it's an ongoing process of improvement. Movement is a continuous process. It's if you're sort of working towards a cause, it keeps on improving, and there's a constant need of excellence and expanding into different areas that we haven't expanded into. And if you need me to repeat whatever these guys said, this is my opinion on top of what these guys said.
Brother Yasin, you want to add something?
No. They got covered.
When we say you want to, we want actually.
So the movement Islam. So we're working on ikamat ad-din, right? Establishing the deen individually, again, to what other brothers said, within the family, community, and then overall. So, and then how do we establish it? So it has all the different facets. We do charity, dawah, relief. So all those things, that means it's being catered to in different places.
Tariq bhai, your take.
Yeah, I think for the most part, I think they've covered it. I'll just emphasize on the ikamat ad-din, right? Which is that the way that the Prophet ﷺ established the deen. And that was the complete way, that's the ideal way, that's the model for us. And if we leave out any aspect of establishing the deen that the Prophet ﷺ did, then we are leaving out a lot. So there's no option in that, and I think that's the main difference, that ICNA differs with other organizations, where other organizations, maybe they're working for the same cause, which is the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But I think there's rarely another organization that's taking the holistic approach, where every aspect of the deen needs to be established at an individual level, at a family level, and at a societal level.
Is there any part missing out of this when you says the whole aspects or in full context? Is there any part any one of you think that we are missing in establishing of deen? Yes, we do dawah, charity work, but what part you think is missing? Brother Ahad bhai, Abdul Ahad bhai, but within the mic, please. Right there, behind you. Abdul Haq, yes.
The part is missing, the ICNA or Islamic movement. I mean, organization, the one who set the goal. and movement who try to achieve the goal. And Islamic movement work under the guideline of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the other one, God knows where they get the guidelines.
Now just Florida, Brother Hussein will little bit describe any addition to whatever said. Yes, yes. Then you are
okay. So
Amir and
I think everything was like correct. So I would just add on to it that like Islamic movement, like icna, because of the way it operates, we fall under Islamic movement. There are a lot of Islamic organizations that they're Islamic, but they're not movement. Like and Islamic movement is, like you said, like icna is a means for something else, for Islamic movement. It could become something else some other day. It could be another name. It could be in another country. And we are just part of it. And I think most organizations don't operate like that. We encourage others to, also join us, join in our cause, other organizations. We don't like try to tell them not to do their thing. And I think that's how we differ from other organizations.
Of course, and as we will go that other organizations, they may have one or two of these attributes. And again, every organization, especially the Muslim organization, even Islamic centers, they are doing the work of khair. Good things are happening. So they are not our competitors, rather they are complementing whatever, as Quran mentioned that, ta'awanu alal birri wa taqwa. So whatsoever is good happening, that good is actually the khair for this whole ummah. So we are not, discouraging or degrading any work khair is going, but just to have our clarity in our organization. So first and foremost is this faith or aqidah, and of course our faith and aqidah starts with and a lot of non-Muslim or other NGOs, because if you see that we are registered as a NGO, not-for-profit organization under 501c3, but we want the mindset of our members much higher than the mindset of just an NGO or 501c3 organization. So first and foremost, this is our aqidah, and most of the things we already shared. Second is the vision or mission. As an Islamic movement, our vision or mission is universal, even beyond the universal things like akhirah. This is part of our vision and mission, that success in akhirah. So not many of the organizations are, what do you think that how organization gets narrow in this vision or mission? What's their aspects of how you feel that from the when it comes to the vision or mission, how limited, different kind of limited vision or mission you have seen or you observe? Any example? Okay, one aspect is dunya, but within the dunya, anyone else help me out? Within the dunya, what kind of limited scope or the mission they may have? Mic, please. Sorry? Mic. Local, okay. What else?
I just think about relief work or social justice.
This may come under the scope of work, but as far as the vision or mission, what else comes in mind? Waqar Haider bhai.
Basically, there is a difference between mission and vision.
Yes.
Mission is like how versus vision is why.
Yeah, that's correct.
So mission, like vision, where you want to be, or in like a number of years, you can get that this is the vision, and mission, you will be accomplishing it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we are not going in detail, but just in a broad meaning that what is. And as I said that our universal vision and getting in akhirah also, but what narrows the other organizations' vision or mission? One is kind of a localized thing. Brother here.
So I think we talked about this in the beginning, Ta'alluq Billah, right? So everything that we do has to go back to Allah. And the differences in NGOs, what they do, it's for either fame, it's for some other aspect. They do want to help humankind, but not for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the key difference I think that we have, that whatever we do is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for akhir.
Okay. Yeah. Is there any Islamic organization which anyone can compare with Islamic movement? Yes, Brother Abdul Subhan.
Islamic organization and Islamic movement. So Islamic movement want to establish the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They follow the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The other Islamic organization, they just think it is a that religious organization. They just want to do something within the within the house or within the limitation.
Okay. What is the difference between masjid and ikna? So not Abdul Subhan bhai. Yes, Brother Saad.
So the main difference that I see, because I'm part of Masjid board and whatever. The one is the ICLA has a bigger platform. It's a bigger goal. But Masjid is only a local small work. Okay. That's the main difference that I see. And also ICLA is more structured and more like.
Okay. Good. So just quickly go with these things like as we discussed that we will be inshallah comparing ourselves. Ourselves mean that whatever conceptual things we have and how we all these exercise is to how well we are doing when we will be displaying all those attributes. So we will be actually reviewing ourselves actually that how we are doing when we are defining ourselves in this way, then how we are doing actually, and then you will be inshallah. So one thing is that in the perspective of this broader vision and mission, the other organization may be sectarian type organization, local, even the national organization. You think that the national vision is a most or the greatest vision, but nationalism itself is not a very broad vision actually. That's we are saying that when compared to the Islamic movements. Then we have the conceptual things. Movement-based organization, they have the, as brothers already mentioned, that holistic concept of ilah, deen, ibadah, and other organization may have the limited thing. I will just quickly go through what some of the major points already covered. Scope. We are talking about the all aspects of the life. Others may be limited in this. Change. So change is our change. When we talk about the change is a complete change, but again, gradual change. And we will, others may not have the model, the organization, discipline, shura. Again, this is a prophetic model when we talk about the Islamic movements. Other may not have that exact model. Then through the public opinion, and as a grassroots organization, other may not have. So these are some of the attributes of an Islamic movement when we talk about how we are different than other. Again, many of the other organizations may achieve or fall in some of those categories. And as we mentioned that every work of khair and good is happening, that is mashallah good and need to be continue. But when we talk about, and then we need to measure ourselves also, that how we are doing. If we are defining ourselves in these kind of things, then how well we are doing. Are we grassroots? Is our model is prophetic model? Are we talking about the complete change, but again the gradual change as per our methodology? We are talking about all aspects of life, holistic concept, universal and akhira, and all ends to the that La ilaha illallah itself is a vision statement. Agree? What does this mean? we will just touch this last point and we will move forward. If you want to transform this in a current environment's vision statement, so how you will define the la ilaha illallah?
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So I have a little bit, I want to give a different perspective on this little bit, because when we started with La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, that's what basically the objective is. When we say that Islamic movement compared to other organizations, personally, I don't think that's the right approach. Because if you look at in the morning, we'll be talking about taluk with Allah, taluk with Quran, and we're going to talk about the seerah, the life and all that. So what the thing should be when you're going to compare it, compare to are we meeting the objectives that the deen sets up for us? Don't compare the other organizations, because what you're doing is that this is just because it's an open forum and we've been told that you can say whatever you want. When you're comparing to other organizations, basically you're kind of saying, well, they're not good or we might be good, or we're good or they are good or we're not good. So compared to the mission, what the mission is, which is La ilaha illallah. If that is the mission, so if we are looking at our mission statement of what you're doing at the local chapter level, do you think we're meeting the mission objective that is set up? If there are gaps, what are those gaps? If we have concepts which are holistic, Ilahi Deen, do you believe that they are? If they are not, what is the gap? If the scope is right, if you believe the scope is right, when you ask the chapter members, what is the gap that you on your personal level and as a chapter level believe that it should be what it is today? And if there's, because that's at the end of the day, what you're trying to look at is a gap. Gap is not between us and the other organization, because they might not have the same objective. There might not be La ilaha in there. So you cannot really compare. What we need to compare ourselves is the Quran and the Sunnah, which is what we've been talking about all morning. And then, are we meeting those requirements that an Islamic organization should have at each level to meet those requirements? And if there are gaps, what are those and how do we fill them?
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Yeah, that's actually, we are coming on that. But when we are working, so definitely no one is perfect. Neither ICNA as an organization, neither our individuals. Again, only the perfects are prophets and the Payghambar of Allah. So nobody is perfect. So that's, and again, I was repeating in my presentation that when we are comparing doesn't mean that we are degrading anyone. We are encouraging any good is happening. That's good for every Muslim. So when we, of course, either we choose a job, either we do any other thing, human nature is that comparative region. Comparison is not to compete, rather complement. If any gap is within the organizations, that gap also needs to fill. And within the organization own objectives, is there any gap that needs to be filled? So that's our comparison is. And again, I mentioned in the beginning that this comparison is not degrading any other organization or khair is happening. But again, our main scope is that are we completing, and now I will inshallah give some time to our murabbis that if they feel that any gap is or anything important missing in this area, what we are defining as an Islamic movement, then inshallah brother Riaz Lari from Dallas.
So just wanted to say something about the comment. Like you pointed out, and even Maulana says this, that just because you work for an Islamic movement doesn't mean that you become much closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that depends upon the individual's effort. What we are trying to say, if I understood correctly, we are trying to, when we go out, I'm not talking about ICNA, I'm just going to replace the word movement just by Islamic movement, not ICNA. Islamic movement compared to other organizations, when we go out and talk to the common Muslims and ask them if they go towards working for a masjid or a relief organization or anything else, we have to explain it to them, the purpose of the Islamic movement and the comprehensiveness of the Islamic movement and the work that we do. Because we need to show them what is the difference between the Islamic movement's comprehensive work compared to the limited work of other organizations. This is not to show that we are better and they're not better, but to show them our work is comprehensive so that they understand why they should work for Islamic movement compared to other organizations. So we should not lose that thought because when we obviously we have limited resources, and when we go out and ask for people to come and volunteer for organizations, they need to understand what they are working for.
Jazakallah khair. Anything missing, Javed Bhai or Shahid Rafiq Bhai, you want to add something? So inshallah, this is what we spoke about, and just to give a comprehensive definition, and as an Islamic movement, it's a comprehensive, organic, dynamic, progressive, whatever you can, and this is, we think that organized collective work by the people to restore Islam to the leadership of society and to the helm of all walks of life. This is kind of a comprehensive, again, you may add or edit this thing, but this is what we think that this is a major. So as you have seen that our sessions started with the Talluq Billah and further emphasis on the Quran. Then we came up on this organizational part. Organizational first part is the conceptual part, and the second part is kind of a do or don'ts type thing, because the subject is, what is the topic of our session? Oh, okay, strengthen the organization. And I don't know, Javed Bhai did this exercise 3-4 times in the morning. So are you willing to repeat all those topics which were covered and will be covered? Who is volunteering? What 2 topics we already covered? Not necessarily mic needed, but just because this is the obvious answer, people already gave several times. But 2 other next topics are, any brother from the brother Multasim, you are saying? Yes.
Strengthen the brotherhood and more Sirah and then hear and obey.
Okay.
Listen and obey.
So brotherhood and these topics are inshallah coming. And this is the topic of strengthening the organization. So strengthening part means that how to strengthen the organization. So I think we will be now covering this part or this aspect of our presentation. But again, as we are encouraging the brothers that, and when we talk about these things, like right now, we are more kind of functional areas. So wherever you find that, whatever experience you had to strengthen, and we will talk about those things which actually weakens the organization, because strengthening has both aspects, that do and don'ts. So what do you think that the topmost things which needed to for the organization, especially when we talk about this Islamic movement concepts and the topics? Yes, brothers, start sharing your thoughts. And yes, brother.
One thing I've noticed is, for example, the vision and mission. Unless I was sitting in this room right now, I would probably not know the vision and mission of ICNA. I believe an organization such as ICNA that wants to turn into a movement or represents itself as a movement should wear the vision and mission as a chip on their shoulder. And carry it everywhere they go and represent it as their why. And with carrying their why throughout their speech and their actions, we would be able to actually bring in more volunteers and people that would have the same why as us and want to join us because of it. Another thing is that if ICNA wants to strengthen within itself, then it has to invest back in the work, in organizational volunteers, promote promotions within ICNA itself in order to basically give positive feedback to the people that work within the organization and also volunteer. At the end of the day, monetary value does have an effect on people being motivated, as well as the reasoning and vision and the mission of the organization as a whole.
Yeah, when we are talking about the strength, so keep in mind that what is the movement is, because the components of the movement are related to the strengths, correct? So if you remember those things, which we just discussed, and just give you an idea where we are working and ICNA's position. I just want to share this one slide for your Muslims in America, correct? This is a bigger picture of US, 300 plus millions, and Muslims as a rough estimate, some even think that less than that. And then we have 70% Muslims, as we see that they are falling most of the time in that the practicing Muslim, 25% as per different estimates. And then 5% are those not only practicing, but they are activists and activists for a positive change. You can just imagine that among this very small, less than 3%, this 5% is even that 3% of this. So you can imagine how minimum this number is. But our main focus is to strengthen that 5%. So from where this 5% will be increasing, of course, first and foremost, those practicing Muslim who are coming in the masjid and doing good efforts, already doing Muslim organizations, strengthening them, coalitions and other things. Then 70% Muslims who are not part of any practicing or the activism, they are also one of the target. But major our area is from this 97%. Still we are working within Muslim community, we are missing 90% of this population of US. And you are talking about bringing a complete change and missing this 90%, that's a real gap. And this is where we need to focus on, that if we want to increase this 5% of the Muslim population, the activist people, towards understanding that this is the positive change they want to bring, then they need to address this 90%. So this is the organization work. This is where we talk about the strengthening the organization. Of course, we will be conceptually training or giving them the guidance. Then we will be including more the activist Muslims and approaching to, because most of the time when Muslim actually those Muslim organizations or even whosoever is working for the Muslims, they usually are limited to the Islamic centers. At the most, they will go some other areas, but still they are limiting themselves to the masjid coming Muslims even. See that only 25% we are addressing, trying to address. And this 25% is just for this 3 to 8 million. What about the 300 plus million people are out there? Our Alhamdulillah, Wa Islam, Gain Peace, they are doing a great job. In last 15, 20 years, through these two organizations, we got, Alhamdulillah, Shahada, 5 to 7,000 people became Muslim through Wa Islam and Gain Peace. But when we see our organization, we don't see that many faces through our dawah efforts in our organization. So when we talk about the strengthening the organization, that's the next level of dawah. Our Embrace project we are running for last 2 years. Alhamdulillah, Embrace is for the revert by the reverts, the Muslim brothers and sisters who converted to Islam. We are giving them a platform to work and organize themselves because they have the similar issues and whatever they've gone through with that, which we born and raised Muslims sometimes don't even imagine what type of issues they are going through. So that Embrace project is also part of the organization, and again towards the strengthening the organization to bring the indigenous population who are much more effective than us, the immigrants. Because Sayyid Maududi Rahmatullah Alayhi, he came in 1964, I think, and he addressed in the Columbia University, New York, to the MSA. At that time, look at the visionary person, so how far he can look. He said that at that gathering of the MSA that your job is to bring the convert or the new Muslims into this, or not only in the organizations, but hand over the leadership to them. Because while you will be running your own organizations within your leadership and membership, even after 60, 50 or 70 years, you will be still considered as an immigrant and you will be thrown out any time from this country. So how visionary he was that. And now we are facing all those Islamophobes and challenges we are facing right now. Still, we are immigrants. Even our next generation, third generation is here, and they are born and raised here, but still the label as an immigrant population. So this is our job to include that. So I'm just talking about from the strengthening perspective. So let's talk about then the how to strengthen the organization. This is one aspect, but to just a couple of minutes I took here, but rest of the things we will be talking about, and inshallah Shahid Bhai will be taking the next area of our organizational structure and how at the chapter level we will be doing this. So what do you think that things, and quickly go through with that, things which are needed to strengthen an Islamic organization and things which we need to avoid which damage the organization, so in an Islamic organization. So one brother at a time, one attribute, so we can cover most of the brothers. So inshallah, the brother is not spoken yet. Who, this brother, yes, inshallah. Haris, yes, oh, mashallah, Haris too, mashallah.
Hello. Assalamu alaikum. Well, first of all, I believe that everyone should understand that everyone are volunteers in this organization to actually, be united together. Because not everyone is paid, everyone has family, everyone has different lives. So for the organization to come at a specific point for success, they should all understand that they're all volunteers, and inshallah everyone will put their time in together to do something successful.
Okay. Next, what's the, yes, Brother Hidayat, you have the mic. Brother Hidayat can go.
Assalamu alaikum. I was just curious, why don't we see the diversity that we have in the American Muslim population in the ICNA leadership or at the ICNA convention or any of the meetings I go to? I don't see the kind of diversity I would expect is there in the Islamic community.
Okay. So, Brother Hidayat, do you have any Muslim friend who is not from Indo-Pak background?
So I go to a masjid called Islamic Council of Boca Raton. So there, most of the population that comes there is Arab. So I do meet a lot of them there. And sometimes when I go to the masjid in Sunrise, I do see a couple of African American brothers, but I don't see that kind of diversity in these events. So I was just curious, is it a failure as our organization, or is it something that we need to do better?
Okay.
Assalamu alaikum. I don't have a magic answer for you, but I converted in your masjid, alhamdulillah. So.
Yes, Brother Frank.
I speak. In Colorado. I'm involved with probably more of the non-Indo-Pak crowd than the Indo-Pak itself. But I know there's some kind of blockage that they don't want to really join this organization. I'm running with the same issues with a revert group. They have a revert group in the Front Range in Denver, and they have a very hard time. They are really unwilling to even join Embrace. So I will have to work with them to make them understand. The value of doing so. But I'm not too sure where this blockage is coming from.
So, Brother Naveed, I think. Naveed will also address the issue of even youth, why we don't see in our youth that diversity, even born and raised here without any communication gap.
There is only one mic moving from here to one corner to other corner.
Okay, so just to kind of add on to the points, and I think Brother Shahid mentioned as well too. So I think one thing in particular, not to blame anyone, but I think one thing in particular with ICNA is that many folks are not comfortable in going outside of their own comfort zone, and we are failing to, I guess, attract other people who are not like us, and whatever the challenge is. And on top of that, a lot of the cultural things that we have from our backgrounds, we still kind of bring them in, and I know it's hard to take out. But with that, obviously, it's harder to bring new faces within ICNA. And you see, even like this room, for example, 85%, if not more, is all Desi. And again, like I think it's more work for all of us. And I've been making a constant effort on this, and I'm pretty sure my team can speak for that on its own. My effort has been direct and to the point. I told Dr. Arif when he gave me the position that my main three focuses are youth, diversity, and sisters. If we're not focusing on that within our chapters, I don't know what we're doing. And I feel that as we're growing, and like you mentioned with the work of Embrace, Ignite Relief, Helping Hand, Why Islam, we have to capitalize on these entities, motivate the people who are coming and joining our effort, either as employees or volunteers or whatnot, and then make them feel welcome enough that they can be part of this work in a comfortable manner and not being forced, and that inshallah they get that love and affection like how we all have to take it to the next level as well.
Okay, Brother Hussein.
But quickly, I think yes, because we are discussing as a whole, and this one part is we don't want to miss that, so we are addressing this. But as a whole, keep strengthening that organization. A lot to come, so just keep in mind that. Yes, I think who not spoken yet.
I think.
What challenges? Just curious about that. What challenges our youth is facing? No, I think no. That Naveed Bhai or any other youth can address that. Why in the youth even you don't see that diversity, which that Desi background has not that much of.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Zain from Mid-Atlantic. I think it's a very similar issue. Actually, when you brought up before asking what we are missing, I was trying to answer at that point too. We're missing a sense of context. We have all these missions and all these different programs that, mashallah, people who are much older than I am and even much older than the other people over here, they thought of, and we just kind of continuing with them. We don't make our things relevant. We were handing $5 to the person on the road then, and then we're doing the same thing now. We're handing a fish then, and then we're handing the fish now. We're not teaching people how to fish. We're not improving the way we do things. And that's where the youth and the diversity and all these other things come in. The youth feel just as uncomfortable coming into an environment where everybody else is 40 years older than them, as people who are non-brown come to my house and see that, okay, everybody's brown, if I don't make them feel welcome. The other thing is, anytime any kind of comment is brought up to an organization, it is never a good response to say that, in my opinion, to say that, oh, we're doing the best and it's your issue, why don't you feel comfortable? If they don't feel comfortable, that's my fault. Prophet Muhammad never made any excuses to people who were coming from, people who were slaves. He didn't make an excuse saying that, I'm an Arab. No, this is not the case. You turn it around, you look at yourself and try to improve. Those are just my 2 things.
Yes, correct. Brother Daniel, you want to add something? Brother Daniel, you. Oh. Do you want?
On the topic in regards for the diversity for the organization, one thing that some people may be aware of, may not be aware of, is that for the amount of converts inside of the United States, it is equal. We are gaining as many people as we are losing. One of the first presentations that I had given to me for the Embrace Project was that keeping reverts, converts in not only the organization, but as inside of Islam itself, is a huge difficulty. And a lot of it may come with the cultural divide. It may come with the separation that comes with the experience of being a revert. But I think generally with that, as alongside with just a general against numbers, you only have so many reverts, or you only have, I guess the Desi community is more populous and has a cultural focus on helping the community. Alhamdulillah, that's great. But I think just having more avenues open so that reverts or someone outside of that community would be able to establish himself or be able to put in efforts to be able to help the movement, alhamdulillah, I think would be very beneficial.
Yes, brother.
So basically, one thing that we're kind of missing with this our generation youth, they don't kind of put in their allegiances to one group or another. They would pick a topic, and if they won't care about the organization's name, whoever's there, it could be saying Al Maghrib, it could be saying Qalam Institute, and if they like the topic that they want to discuss, they would go to that. So it essentially comes down to that. And when you have that many, when you're going from different organization to organization, you don't stick to one to get to the leadership position. You kind of like, if you're not staying for over 2 years or 3 years, you won't see them in a leadership position. Because with ICNA, it has been that people has been in ICNA for 30, 40 years that are in the leadership position, and we haven't seen a bigger change because we're not providing something revolutionary to them that they want to stick in for that long, to make sure that we're not producing them as leaders. We're producing them as like Islamic movement, like all of those things. But in terms of like actually producing leaders, we're not there yet to actually have, oh, this person is eventually going to be taking over, like he's going to be coming over like after 5 or 10 years, that these are the people who are going to come over. It's just the same process over and over again.
Brother Hussein.
Like, I think it's easy to say like we need to just like focus on the youth or something like that. Like we need to attract youth, and I think we do work hard for that. Like I know, especially in South Florida, we bend over backwards to try to like work with YM, try to invite them, basically try to fix like do everything to try to get them to come to us, and yet it's still like we barely get any interaction from them. So it's not like we don't work, and I'm not saying we can be better, but there's also they're youth, like a lot of times it's just the follies of youth that make them not respond to working as a community or for the movement.
So when we comparing ICNA, right, and we find majority are from Indo-Pak, majority. But at the same time, when you see MSA or you see young Muslims, do we find the same, exactly the same? If there is any brother who used to work with MSA or in YM, if you want to address why it is, there is no diversity as well. Mike, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Mutasam, go ahead.
I'll talk. So actually, I disagree with you.
Okay.
Inshallah. So I've been involved with YM. I've been involved with ICNA, Islam. I've been involved with MSA and a few other organizations. We started a couple of ones. I just started Brother Harris to a gaming server that we started, but we also do Muslim gaming. So we play video games, and we also have discussions, and then that has diversity from across the world. We have a Russian speaker who only speaks Russian, but somehow they're able to communicate and listen to our lectures and stuff. So this issue of not having diversity, let's say specifically for youth, I feel like we could sort of pinpoint this to an ICNA problem, right? And I can mention two other organizations. And this is not me being critical of ICNA, this is me trying to care for as this is the problem that I see, and apparently a lot of people are seeing. So MSA, we do have a huge amount of diversity. And then we can have other criticisms from MSA. But very recently, if you know what MIST is, MIST, that's a scholaristic tournament that's happening within the next 3 months. Every weekend in every different state is a tournament, and almost, let's say, 150 students are competing in that tournament across the United States. And they're diverse as more than I've ever seen YM, right? If you look at CARE has diversity in the youth that ICNA does not. Even MAS, even though they're also a movement-based organization, they do have a little bit more diversity than we do. They have their own problems, and then they might not be as diverse as they want to, but they do have this diversity. So I don't think we could say that this is an issue that's found in other organizations, because I think this issue is very specific or even exaggerated in ICNA when compared. it's a little bit more significant in ICNA than it is in other organizations. And a big part of that, from what I see as a youth that was born into ICNA and had to invite people, one of the main issue is that it is a welcoming atmosphere. I feel a lot of youth come, they're excited, but then either they feel overburdened or they don't feel welcome enough. And then that is my takeaway.
So if anyone can pick from what he says the missing part is welcoming atmosphere. So who can elaborate that?
Before continuing on to that
Sure.
point really quickly, I did want to talk about the MSA and ICNA's inclusivity or exclusivity, I should say. I've been with Helping a Hand for the past 3 years in this region, the DMV region, and I've participated with ICNA events in the past. And there's a reason that I don't usually particularly like going to these types of events and venues. Not necessarily the crowd or the people in general, but there is sort of a exclusivity that's attached with ICNA. And not just ICNA in itself, MAS as well has their exclusivity along with Arabs and etc. etc. And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that, with being comfortable with your own kind, as long as you're also welcoming to those outside of your traditional audience. But as far as the MSAs and so far and so on go, I do agree with him that it is relatively diverse, especially in this area, in this region, that MSAs of different ethnicities and cultures and even people who are not necessarily Muslim will actually participate within them. As far as ICNA goes with reaching out to the younger crowd and expanding on their message and their inclusivity, I think a lot of it has to go with the leadership that's attached to it, with like-minded people passing the baton on to other like-minded people, which is nothing wrong with that. But if you want a fresher perspective, then I would encourage having someone who's younger be part of the planning committee or along those lines. But I think that there's nothing wrong with being comfortable with people that are within the same race or ethnicity as you are. I think there's a lot of different organizations that have the same kind of guidelines or audiences that really go along with, with a certain ethnicity or so on and so forth. So just wanted to mention that.
Very good. Yes, brother. But I want to address, he says that the welcoming atmosphere, because when we do our gatherings and we invite Muslims around us or from the masjid, and we would like them to be introduced with ICNA, we have a gathering. What we call that gathering?
Well, before we go forward with that,
okay.
These two youth, they brought up a very important fact.
Loudly,
so
please.
My questions to both of you is that, especially, you said that you've been working with the organization, but you still feel that you're not really welcome or, distanced from. What do you guys think, and what you have seen in the experience with the working with MAS or MSAs, what are they doing that we are not doing to bring the other people in? So how we can improve this? Do you guys have any tips for us? Other than the age group, of course, we cannot bring that down, right? So what can we do? What you guys think that they're doing and we are not doing?
I mean, I would say, we can change the age requirements and the guidelines in which leadership is elected within ICNA and of itself, or in the MGA groups. We're literally passing the baton on to people who have the same exact like-minded set to just continue on the same exact legacy year after year after year after year. And I think that if we want to change and we want to be more inclusive, different ethnicities, different people, different age groups, then we have to also change the method in which we elect our leadership.
No, Mustafa. No. Yes. I think any other brother, Nafi, you were saying something.
Elaborate on welcoming atmosphere.
So basically, regarding the work, it's kind of the same thing. If you involve youth in an aspect more than just being a volunteer, that brings a welcoming aspect. Like, as youth, we have seen at least in the DMV chapter, we have a young president who's trying to welcome all of them, and you see the environment being that it is trying to welcome. But when you put them in the leadership position, like even smaller things, it doesn't have to be that they're the what do you call they're on the shura, but they're doing things in different conventions and all of this that they're responsible for some things. Then they would feel more so like obligated to, okay, we want to do more for this organization. Then they feel more invested towards that. Like right now, which ICNA is lacking at the moment, that we want to gather more volunteers, but not necessarily have more leaders within, like youth leaders within that this organization.
So, yeah, this is the last brother in this topic.
Mention on the welcoming aspect. You said we go to masajid, we invite people to come have iftar with us or dinner with us, and that's welcoming. I think that's a very superficial definition of welcoming. People don't feel welcome because you feed them. People feel welcome in your company. If you invite them and have dinner with them for half an hour, even half an hour every day, as soon as you leave that, then you start speaking in your own language, in your own group, and that person is standing next to on the side, just not understanding anything. Let's look at this group. I mean, alhamdulillah, I can speak Urdu. I grew up in Pakistan. I'm as Pakistani as it gets. Speak Punjabi and all this stuff too. But in no MSA setting will I ever make a joke in Urdu. Will I ever make a comment in Urdu? Will I ever respond to somebody else in Urdu? Because I know there are people who don't understand that language. Islamically, there's a hadith, and correct me, you know more, that if 3 people are there, 2 people should not be whispering to each other. Yet we feel comfortable speaking in a language that we know that Rashid over here does not understand, right? So he doesn't. Maybe he does by this point. But the point is, I could be talking to Nafi about literally anything in the world, but if he doesn't understand it, that is disrespectful towards him. So he will feel more comfortable when I respect him as compared to when I feed him. I think that is a different mindset that we need to bring in, where it's not just about an event, it's about how you live your life. In my opinion.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. I think, yes, I think, alhamdulillah, as Brother Naveed is our, mashallah, a young representative and kind of in leadership position also, and it makes difference. And mashallah, you brothers are here because of that connection or that bridge. And that's actually in ICNA. And as my son very well taught me this thing, when I asked that why we don't, again, there is a definitely there's a different for sure in ICNA's diversity and young Muslim diversity. A lot more people are as compared to, but still we don't see that many people in the leadership of. And that's my son taught me that when we were young, you guys were here, you were making your career, and you were moving towards the suburbs, kind of a white dominant people, not to discriminate anything common, but you were moving towards those suburbs area, and you were leaving those areas which you thought that not to be not to safe environment for us also, you thought that, but this your mentality kept us distance from those communities, especially African American community, Latino community, and that gap continued that, and that we also got in some sort of that mentality also, that if you have taken that step or that challenge that keep us in those communities, integrated with those communities. And not only this is just organizational, but as Rasulullah SAW brought that change within that cultural part also. It was not just an organizational meeting, but rather more integration from the social and the cultural aspects also, which make that further, integration. So inshallah, we will keep continue with these, mashallah. And gradually, ICNA is also like right now in our executive council, 5 people nationally. YM's ex-coordinator, Salman Mujahid, is part of that. He is part of our National Shura. So gradually, brothers are coming in those areas also. And still a lot to go. And definitely, we keep continue with your feedback and especially your help and support, and from the functional perspective. So this is we are going late, but Salman bhai,
brother Hanif, if I could say something about the strengthening, going back, not to address the youth
Okay,
issue.
so if Salman bhai, you want to on the youth issue or just any other issue? Huh? General. So okay, let's move forward. Or general, yeah, just one comment.
In journal, there are actually, because I worked in 5 different regions of ICNA and 7 different units. So I have a good understanding what's going on where and what is the problem. So what I understand the problem in journal about this diversity, yes, this is our failure and we need to understand and accept, yeah, this is our failure. It's after 40 years, ICNA Shura and ICNA leadership, 90% is from Pakistan or Urdu speaking. So this is just a failure and we need to accept that one. But how to solve this problem? We need to solve the problem within ourselves, within our attitude. Among of all, I'm talking about my generation. How many of us have friends, close friends, within like Arab brothers, any other ethnicities, or even not friend, we are actually working with them, we are inviting in our dinners and our lunches when we are doing dawats and inviting other families. Did we invite any other than Urdu speaking to our, very rarely. And then when we invite, when we are planning our events, and in the food, we always choose biryani and other things. Yes, we think it is a joke, but brother, this is not a joke. Ever we think about that's okay, why not we have a burritos this time? We are talking about the convention, and in convention, always we think about that we need to bring desi food first and then talk about the other things. So this is the problem within ourselves and we need to solve, because in the generation which ICNA leadership, ICNA Shura, ICNA central leadership, we are all in 55 plus age. How many years we left? Like if we are like, okay, nobody can say that's okay, like okay, after 60 everybody can die. Yeah, but we have only 5-6 years, my maximum 10 years left. So we need to work on, this is real problem right now. We need to change. And how we are going to change? We need to change our attitude. We need to work hard onto this one. And the welcoming thing is what I see when the youth comes in, alhamdulillah, yes, YM brothers, YM sisters are coming in, but we always reluctant to give some position, some responsibilities for them. They bring some idea, we always think about, oh, we used to do in Jamiyat, in Jamaat, in that way, oh, it's not going to work. Brothers, we are living a different part of the world. That was completely over there in Pakistan and India. This is at this time over there is actually a morning time now. It's going to be morning, and we are here. It's the same thing, same difference of the mindset and of the everything over here. So we need to think about that one. And when they are coming, we need to give them some responsibilities and take some risk. But we are not able to take risks. And this is some artificial things. Okay, for the convention, we are giving them, the youth can manage their own. But actually, how much we are giving them actually? Did they ever we think that's why not this year, ICNA, YM brothers and YM sister going to manage the convention? Let them take one year this risk. Even, okay, convention is a bigger thing. What about a small a conference like Tarbiyah seminar we are doing somewhere? Just give the responsibility to youth. Okay, brothers, you are facing the challenges because we are not facing those challenges. What our young brothers and sisters are facing the challenges. They born here, they raise here, they understand the society much better than us. Sometimes in workplaces and other things, sometimes we hear a joke, and sometimes we just like completely like it's actually power off because I cannot understand that joke. But the other thing, they born and raised here, they understand what they are talking about. So this is the problem we are facing. And we need to solve this problem as soon as possible because our time is passing very fast.
Jazakallah.
Thank you, brother.
Yes. Yeah. And
So,
again,
so brothers,
brother Shahid Rafiq and Brother Hassan.
You forgot about me, brother.
But again, this topic is, alhamdulillah, is a good topic, and definitely it is good to express yourself as your candid analysis, that how you feel that. Sorry? Yes, Riaz.
So,
Riaz, brother.
yeah, so we talked about how to strengthen the organization. I just want to kind of get back to that discussion. And we all know the famous saying that La Islama illa bi jama'a, wa la jama'ata illa bi imara, wa la bi imarata illa bi sami'a ta'a. Right? So we all know this. The first thing is, it talks about that there is no Islam without the jama'ah, and there is no jama'ah without the leadership, and there is no leadership without sama'a and ta'a, listen and obey. If we talk about imara, the leadership, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he worked the issues that are more relevant to the community at that time. He worked against the misuse of the orphans. He worked for the women's rights. He worked for the rights of the slaves. So he was able to flog the 97% people that we talked about that we're not able to attract. He was able to attract that 97% by working the real issues that affected the community, so people flocked to them. And if we look at ICNA and the issues that we work, are we really addressing the core issues of the people, the citizens of this country? If you look at the Gallup poll that was run for the voters 2020, what are the top issues affecting this country in 2020 that are important for the voters? There are 16 issues identified by the Gallup poll. How many of them we are working in ICNA? Very few. And even the items that we are already working, it's not enough, and we are not marketing that enough. So if we really want to go and attract this 97% of the people, we have to change our methodology and start working those issues that are more relevant to the community, to this country. I think that is something that we are missing. And I'll close with this. The diversity is always becoming an issue. There's nothing wrong in having Indo-Pak doing the work. As a matter of fact, we all know in the Battle of Hunain, when the people were leaving the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they were attacked from the valley, they left the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say? The first thing that he said, "Ana nabiyyu la kadhib," that I am the Nabi, I will not lie. But Ana ibn Abdul Muttalib, that I am the son of Abdul Muttalib. So he called, saying first of all that he is the Nabi, that he will not lie, and at the same time he also said that I am from Abdul Muttalib. So it is okay to use diversity for positive purposes. It is not wrong to serve biryani or have Indo-Pak brothers with us. They are the ones who are going to get attracted first. Even during the battles, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gave the Muhajirin a banner, and the Muhajirin worked under them. So we just have to understand this is the nature of human beings. I'm not saying that I'm against diversity. Don't make this as a core issue. We have to work on it, yes, but at the same time, whatever diversity that we have, there is strength in that too. So we should not discount that. I just wanted to inshallah conclude with that.
I think, yeah, this is a good, sorry, you done? Yeah, so it is good, I think. And again, this is not the first and not the last our conversation, inshallah. We will continue, and even offline also, we can have some special, meeting and the youth, and we will give them further chance to discuss on this thing with our leadership also. Just Shahid Bhai, and we will inshallah.
I just want to say one quick thing. I have learned one thing from my wife, and she says that in ICNA, nobody stops anybody. If you have some good ideas, go and execute those ideas. So the brothers who are saying about diversity, sometimes when we talk about ICNA, we think ICNA is the name of a shura. We all are ICNA. Every one of us is ICNA. So if we all feel like that diversity is one of our major issues, so we all have to work in that direction. So a lot of time we get emotional about this subject for so many years, but we do not move an inch in that direction ourselves. So we all have to take this ownership, this responsibility, that wherever I am and whatever I can do in this capacity, then I should do. Nobody is stopping anybody.
I think we already spoken on this topic, and that's what I'm saying, like, we are not shutting down, we are not changing, but rather we are open and we will inshallah discuss these in our shuras, in our longer plans. This topic is always there. And as Shahid Bhai mentioned, his own daughter was YM's national coordinator, and alhamdulillah, she performed very well. And she's continuing, and similar way, other our YM people. But again, this is a shortcoming, no question about it. This need to be addressed, yes. But again, everything needs to be organic or grassroots level, or not to be imposed kind of thing, or rather more organic way. That's the real issue is. If it is not the organic way, then always we will be doing the patchwork. And whenever doing the patchwork, that will never last. So let's start with the, for our just couple of topics we have, like is how to strengthen the neighbor nets and how to establish the study circles. These type of things we have in our topic, today's topic, for the strengthening the organization. So these are our kind of the tools. Yes.
So after this discussion, which alhamdulillah, a lot of brothers give very important input here. But right now we are using some tools, right, where we inviting just common Muslims to attract them what is ICNA doing. So, which is one of them is NeighborNet. And I want you to share if you have a better idea of NeighborNet or activities. So other brothers who came here from around the country, they can take some of your experiences and they adopt those experiences and make their NeighborNets better. So if anyone have here, raise hands that they have the best NeighborNets and they can share their activities, their environment of in NeighborNet and how we can adopt them. Okay, very good question. So this brother asking, what is a NeighborNet? So I want an ICNA member or unit president or regional president to raise hand and explain this brother what is a NeighborNet.
So pretty much a NeighborNet is, I guess, like folks who live in like one neighborhood or like one locality, one masjid, for example, and they meet up regularly, let's say for Isha prayer or Fajr prayer or whatnot, and then they'll get together either after whatever Salah or other time that's convenient to them, at least like 6 or 7 brothers, 5 or 6 or whatnot, and they kind of just go through either a course or, you know, some Quran, some Hadith. We were talking about it earlier. So pretty much in, I guess, layman's terms, a general get-together on a weekly basis at least for a few brothers to just kind of meet with each other, to talk about the deen and expand on the work of ICNA and all that good stuff. I hope that's right.
Did you get the idea? Okay, so can you explain now?
No, I guess NeighborNet is a sort of a internal social network of people within different communities who gather together within a certain period of time and extend their welcomes to those in their community to interact with them and also expand on other people's issues that they can inherit and that they also inherit from their own communities and expand on that and problem resolution, I suppose.
Yes, brother.
I was paying attention.
One of the problems that I think, at least within this area, is that there are so many MSAs. People just see wherever they can find the resources. So it's not necessarily about that a NeighborNet has to be there to make the work. But there are so many MSAs actually doing the good work and strong MSAs. They're like, we don't need to create another thing just to put in under the umbrella of ICNA. So that's what their idea is, like, you know.
Anyone else?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So NeighborNet, from my perspective, basically strengthen the real brotherhood of the brothers, those who are within ICNA and also outside the ICNA, come together, bring your family and strengthening the social gathering of the family together. So it's not just about learning and, you know, growing together. Let's say if you have small kids, they all come together, grow together, and then imagine that, let's say if we have 7 or 8 families to come together, get to know more about them very well, eating each other's food, and also learning something from each other, right? So going around, and then let's say if the 8 families once they have the good idea of how to run this, all the 8 families and then go and start their own neighbor net. See what will happen maybe after a year or two. The whole community will be connected well, get together. They know each other very well, and they also know what all the issues that you will have. I just wanted to say one thing. One time, I think Imam Suhaib Web, he mentioned that there was a brother. They know each other very well, but the brother who was very reluctant to go and ask him, but very suddenly he approached him, and then he asked him, "Can I borrow $1,000?" And the other brother started crying. He did not cry because this brother is asking money. He cried because I did not know his need. Right? So the neighbor net, if there is a real neighbor net, that will solve the problem. Right? So you come closer. There was a one beautiful thing that I think that the ICNA does it. But I have been there in Bay Area for a long time with ICNA for 10 plus years. We never experienced it. Right? But the actual neighbor net, the purpose of the neighbor net is strengthening the real brotherhood and sisterhood. So that is what my perspective.
Good, mashallah. So there is 2-3 regional presidents, right? Tariq bhai, how many neighbor nets we have in DMV area?
Don't give it to me.
Okay. New Jersey. Okay. Florida. Mashallah. Okay. So Hassan bhai, how many neighbor nets we have in South Florida? 3, mashallah. So are those neighbor nets working for spreading the message of ICNA? And
Hussain will elaborate a little. Go ahead, bro.
Okay, sure, Hussain bhai.
So we have like 2 that were previously established, and we just started a new one. We have one in Miami that goes weekly, and then most of them, they all live in one building. One of our MGs, the brother, like he became because of a neighbor net that used to happen like 10, 15 years ago. So he conducts it, and all of them meet. I think he said like they pray like one prayer, like mostly Isha together every day, because they all live in like the same building. But most time they get at least together for Friday nights. Them and their families, they bring food together, whatnot, and they eat together. But I think that's like a harder situation because it's made easier because it lives so close. That's probably harder for others to do. We have one in Palm Beach County, which meets around once a month. So, and that one, it's kind of like a study circle / neighbor net because we read a book and we discuss it, and then we eat. And then the book, we keep that to short time, keep like an hour for the book / discussion, and after that, people can stay, they can eat however long they want. And we get like a lot of people for that one. We get like up to 50, even 60. So then we divide it into Broward County and Palm Beach County, and inshallah, we hope that both will be successful.
Shahid bhai, you wanna comments for neighbor net?
Bismillah. Please pay attention, and I will explain to you what neighbor net is. So at least the brothers who are here, they have one definition. See, neighbor net very simply is a networking among 4 to 8 brothers to create real brotherhood among them, not just the brotherhood, real brotherhood. They know about each other very well, in depth, to the extent they know their needs, how they live in their houses, what problems they are going through, that kind of brotherhood. And helping each other in this journey of learning knowledge, understanding of the movement's vision and mission. So this is like a small family. Don't confuse neighbor net no matter what you do.
family neighbor net, 20 people that say Quran, that's not a neighbor net. And this is a definition not by ICNA. This is the definition established by all the Islamic movements all around the world. The reason is, you know, when you have one person in neighbor net, you want to make sure that brother is taken care of. As organization grows, we do not want any individual of that organization to get lost. NeighborNet is a networking where you make sure that you take care of that brother no matter how big the organization become. So the reason we want to keep it at a smaller level, 4 to 8 brothers, because NeighborNet in charge is like their father. NeighborNet in charge is like their mentor. NeighborNet in charge is a person who really with them in good times, in bad times. He is the one who is going to go and visit the homes of these brothers. So he is the one, he will keep track of every brother. And in MAS, you know, our brother organization, they call it Usra. Very simple and clean, you know, concept. Now, let me explain you the second part. Are we clear up to this part? If anybody has any question about up to this part, so please ask. Yes, brother.
Would you be able to expand on it in the light of Sunnah as well, like how we came to this idea?
Yes, I will explain to you. You know, if you read the history, that when people from Medina came to Prophet ﷺ, he divided all of them in 12 groups. And he made 12 groups and 12 in charges. So that this is the idea we have received from first NeighborNet was started in Darul Arqam. And from there, Prophet ﷺ has expanded it as he moved to Medina after he has received the groups from the Medina. Let me go to the second part. The second part is, brothers, the activities of NeighborNet are not just the syllabus, is not just a curriculum. Curriculum is really a very small portion of NeighborNet. Now we give this idea, this is what we want to achieve, this is a goal. Now you can see your team and their needs, and then you can customize accordingly. So the syllabus and curriculum we provide, that's just an outline. And that's just really a 10% of what you want to do in your NeighborNet. You want to do more, you know, casual activities. You want to go for picnic. You want to go and visit some sick person. You want to go and if you have a guest coming in your town, you want to invite and spend time with him. You want to go together and cook breakfast together to bring that brotherhood among each other. That's what the NeighborNet is all about. To bring that flavor of getting, you know, knowing each other and basically understanding of each other. That could be in a formal way or informal way. So this is how we want to create, you know, this is like a small Tarbiyah unit. Small Tarbiyah unit, so that we can take care of every brother of the organization. Assalamu alaikum.
So Javed Siddiqui bhai, inshallah Javed bhai conclude this session and inshallah pay attention.
Assalamu alaikum. Can I have everyone stand up, please? Jazakumullah khair. I know, stretch out. Okay. Take your seats. Are we having fun yet? Okay. So this was a very candid, very honest, very realistic discussion. Alhamdulillah. The topic, if I look at the screen, what does the topic says? Strengthening the organization. We have looked at it from the current state, what's happening in the organization. I want to spend maybe a few minutes or maybe 10-15 minutes here. I think Salat al-Maghrib will be at about 6 o'clock. Okay. 6:16. 15. Okay. So we'll spend whatever time we have, inshallah. Maybe we'll just end 5 minutes before Adhan so we can conclude and allow people to make wudu. Okay. We're talking about strengthening the organization. When we started the session today, we said this is what it takes. So we were talking about the qualities of the MGAs. Correct? In the morning session, we started off with Ta'alluq Billah. What was the second session? Connection with Quran, right? Ta'alluq bil Quran. And this being the third session, which is organization. When you have people who are connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we had spent a lot of time, yet they're also connected with the Quran, the source of that guidance, and we talked about that. And they are part of this strong organization. Okay, you're with me so far? They're part of this strong organization. I want you to think for the next 5 to 10 minutes. What are some of the areas of organization that you want to focus on, either as an MGA, a member, an attendee, a leader, whatever your role is? Think about your role. You're part of this neighborhood, you're part of this chapter, you're part of this subunit, whatever you call it. You're part of this group of people, okay? Let me start with something. I think in order to make this team, this group, this body that you're part of, I will share the first one and I'll continue to add, inshallah, more and more. But think about this for a second. You want to establish an environment of what I call respect and fairness. Respect and fairness. And why do I say that? You have seen the groups, you have seen the meetings. Every once in a while, one MGA or one brother or one member of the group is being rude. Is being rude to either the chapter president, or the chapter president is rude to that member. They're using the tone and the language, or the body language is such that it really somebody starts to feel uncomfortable. Do you think that's that's an environment where good ideas are going to come from? That's an environment where people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts? An environment where people feel that they will be heard? Well, you treated this brother in this way. Why are you treating me this way? Fairness and respect. Okay? Can someone relate to that? You don't have to take names. Can somebody relate to a problem in the area of fairness and respect? In order to strengthen the organization, do you agree that we have to establish, and I think all these here that I'm going to say or maybe share with you, I don't think anyone can disagree with them. But I want you to think and look back into your own chapters, into your own neighborhoods, or into your own groups. The last time there was an issue, somebody was rude, somebody was disrespectful, someone was unfair to the other person. Anyone can relate to that? Yes. You do. Anyone else? Can you remember a time when this has happened in your chapter or in your region? Somebody was disrespectful. You don't have to explain, but just raise your hand. Wow. Many people are now starting to, as soon as people see other people's hands are raised, they are courageous enough to admit that. Right? So what does that tell you about? What does this tell you? Can somebody help me? What does this tell you? What do we need to strengthen the organization? Two? those, once you develop them, once you build upon those things, now you are going to build towards a stronger organization. That respect, that fairness. So as leaders, many of you who are leaders, literally, because you have responsibility for your chapters, for your organization, for your neighbor net, whatever capacity you're in there, you can relate to this unless and until you are a fair leader, you treat people with respect, you are not going to have a strong organization. Everyone agrees, disagrees? Anyone? Anyone disagrees? Raise your hand. Not a single hand. Now, let me just ask quickly. Any tips? How do you do that? How do you create a respectful and fair organization? Just quick, one single words. Communication. Following the procedure, being fair, right? Okay, anything else you want to say? Be open-minded, yes. Understand the other person's perspective. What is he coming from? He may have something, if you're going to shut him down, that's not going to really work. Yes. Accountability. Being humble. Accessibility. So it's like he calls you, and if you don't like him, don't hang up on him. Or don't just not pick up his call. Yes. Transparency. Leadership. Okay, great. Everyone hears this? Right? What is that doing? It's creating a strong organization. Okay, I'm going to throw the second quality at you. Trust and integrity. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you've had issues with trust and integrity in your regions. Can you see that? Thank you. Trust and integrity. What does that tell you? If you don't have trustworthy leaders, if you don't have integrity as part of the leadership, what is the automatic result of that? Weaker organization. Trust and integrity. Can you tell me how can you build trust and integrity? Just a few words quickly. Transparency. Okay, I'll take that. Thank you. When you say you're going to do something, you get it done. What else? Honesty. This person is honest. He means what he's saying. Yes. Help to other people. How is that translated into trust and integrity? Can you elaborate? You said if you're helping other people, okay, so you understand them. There's understanding between you and others, and that builds that trust eventually. Okay, anything else? Yes, yes. Can somebody translate what he's saying to me into a neighbornet scenario or a chapter scenario or something that happened in your own circles? How do you take that mentality and turn it into something here? So what he's saying, within the Marines, they say that they actually have the most trust because this guy, every one of the two, there are two people, this person is going to save the life of this person, even if he has to sacrifice his life. And in return, when they ask the other person, they say, well, I'm going to save his life because if it came to that, then he's going to do the same for me, so I'm going to do the same for him, right? So there is absolute trust on each other. So when you have trust, yes. So if one person has the responsibility, maybe for example, he had to prepare a topic and last minute he calls you up, Muhammad, I am sorry, I can't really do it tomorrow because this happened. Now you're going to go the extra mile. Maybe you'll have to spend more time to prepare that topic, even though it wasn't your responsibility. One example after second example, there's so many examples that come out, right? There's so many ways in which you can build that trust. So that trust and integrity is what is going to build a strong organization, right? You have to think about that. Yes, somebody else there? Salam. No. Tell me about trust and integrity. Yes.
The trust and integrity is actually when I see that I can share my problem with this person.
Yes.
And that is the leadership quality also, that when a leader like Prophet ﷺ is the best example and uswa hasana in our as a leader.
Yes.
And it's that everybody thinks that I am more closer to him than others.
Yes.
So this is the best quality. And if this one is not there, then everybody feel that maybe, may not be. Can I talk to, because if I am facing some problems, the first person is my Nazim, is my president, or is somebody I can talk to.
Okay.
And I know that if I'm going to share something, I will get something, some advice, some help from there.
Sure. Jazakallah khair. Third quality I'm going to throw at you before, inshallah, let's move on. Change and adaptability. Change and adaptability. What does that mean? How could change and adaptability would create a stronger organization? Anybody? Yes.
Or somebody in your team has some kind of change going on. If you're not adaptable and you cannot change your decisions around it as a leader, that would really weaken the organization.
Yes. Think about that. Think about that. Because change is a reality of life. Agree? It's going to change. You know, we have a statement in Kentucky. It says, if you don't like the weather, change 5 minutes, it will change. You with me? It's going to happen. It's always going to happen. And change is a fact of life. So organizations that are weak, that cannot adapt, what happens to them? Can you think of an organization like that could not adapt? Give me some examples, please. Come on. Techie guys, technology guys. Huh? Comp USA, anyone else? EGFA, anyone else? Huh? Kodak, great examples. Nokia. Okay? It's on your tongue tips, right? On your fingertips. If you cannot change, so if we want a strong organization, what is needed? Adaptability and being able to adapt to changing times. I'll throw you another one. Teamwork. Okay? In order to have a strong organization, do you believe in teamwork and why? Can somebody tell me why teamwork is important? I mean, I'm asking a rhetorical question, right? Please, yeah. I just want you to think about that. What's that? It's not a one-man show. We are talking about jama'ah, and tomorrow we'll talk about more about jama'ah, right? And jama'ah is not a statement of one person. Correct? So if there is no teamwork, as a leader, what is your responsibility? If you are the chapter president, what is one of your key responsibilities? Making sure you have a team. The coach, a basketball coach, what is he doing? He's making sure these guys are talking, right? What are you saying? Recruiting. But you want to make sure, if you are responsible for something, you as the leader, you don't have to do the job of your team members. What you need to make sure is the team members, the right people are talking to the right people, right? You make sure that is happening. The rest is fine. They will take care of it. You don't have to solve everyone's problem, correct? You agree with that? Yes. Mike, please. Teamwork.
I think it's incredibly important for a leader to maximize the skills of their team members and to empower them to use their skills effectively. So, for example, the Prophet ﷺ had Bilal, he chose him out of all the different Sahaba to give the adhan because he knew he had a beautiful voice and he knew he had a powerful voice that could call people to the salah. So, in that sense, out of all the people that he could have chose from, he chose Bilal because he had those skills and he maximized those skills. So that's being a great leader.
Imagine the team the Prophet ﷺ created. No one objected on his choices. And when we'll talk about it tomorrow, when people objected, we also saw some interesting results at the end of the day. But the team he created, he was very confident about his team. Okay, I'll throw another one at you. Team engagement. As a leader, to ensure you have a strong organization, you must ensure your team is engaged. And a lot of times we have challenges. And I'm not saying every leader is going to exhibit all these qualities. But when we talk about strong organizations, we must evaluate constantly, even as a group. Maybe one of these days in a chapter or an MGM meeting or in a neighbor nest setting, whatever the setting is, maybe you should look at these aspects and say, do we have these qualities? Look internally. Are we acting as a team? Are we engaged? Is everyone engaged, or people like, it's not gonna make a difference if I have said this so many times? And why do people become disengaged? Think about that for a second. Why people become disengaged? Not being heard. Not being heard. Do you think within families children become disengaged from parents? Why? They're not being heard. The dad or the mom is shutting them down, like, enough. Heard you, go to your room, right? Not being heard. Okay, we don't have much time. Accountability. If you want an organization, if you want a strong organization, make sure you're working on your responsibilities, clear responsibilities, and accountability. Raise your hand if you've seen the absence of this creating problems in your chapters. When you don't hold people accountable, is a problem. And we have a hand that's not going to go down. Thank you, Saad. A strong organization. Why am I in an organization? Because I want to learn. I want to benefit, right? If you don't have learning opportunities in any organization, if it's the same old, I'm going to come here every neighbor net, we'll just talk about a few things and we'll just move on. If there are no learning opportunities, your intellectual juices are not coming out, not flowing. What happens? You're bored. There's no creativity. There's no intellectual discussion going on. There's no exciting work, discussion, conversation. I'm not excited about this. I really enjoy this. Are you going to come? Your organization is going to be stronger and stronger. Another one, meaning and purpose. Tell me if you have seen an organization or if you've experienced lack of meaning and lack of purpose in your organizations. Okay. Can I ask a dangerous question? No. Those who raise their hand, would they like to share what was their feeling about that? Lack of meaning and lack of purpose. If anyone wants to share, yes, go ahead. Naveed is brave enough for today. Go for it, Naveed. Be direct. Be brief and be direct.
100%. So, I mean, and like, actually, I want to commend Dr. Arif on this because for the longest time, at least to my knowledge, we haven't had regional MGA meetings for a while, like I think maybe even years. But I think like the last 2 years, we've had it very consistently, maybe like every like 4 or 5 months or so. And I feel that was a huge positive moving forward moment because a lot of times we have no idea who the MGAs are in the region, what they're doing, what their responsibilities are. But that's one example of just us meeting together, even if it's just brief, talking about whatever the work that's going on. I feel that's something really impactful that we know that we can trust each other, hold each other accountable, and move forward to the best of our ability. So that's a positive, I guess, feedback for, I guess, before the lack of meeting, but now we do have the consistent meetings.
Great. Jazakallah khair. Next one I'll say, one of the most important ones. If you want a strong organization, you as a leader, you as a member, focus on communication. I think I don't have to even ask anyone to raise their hand. If I said, raise your hand, everyone's going to raise their hand, right? Communication. Communication, communication, communication. Don't use email for everything. Don't use text messages and WhatsApp for everything. Please, show up at this brother's house, sit down with him, talk to him about it. What you're going to say in email, most of us, our English is just terrible, including mine. And if I said something in an email, there's a 50% or 70% chance that I would not have expressed myself clearly. And as a result, my brother could have gotten a different meaning. And that's the end of my communication with that person or for a long time. So communication, very, very important. Last two, and inshallah we'll conclude. Decision making. If you want a strong organization, have you experienced someone in your organization who would not take a decision? Just keep delaying it, keep delaying it, keep delaying it. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. I just want to see. Yeah. Right? When you don't take decisions, sometimes it's even okay to take maybe not the best decision. If the choices are pretty bad and you have not, it's important to take a decisive action and not let something kind of roll and roll and roll and kind of, kick the can down the street or down the road, as they say that. So decision making is very important. And the very last one are the goals and strategies. If you want a strong organization, please work on your goals and strategies as a team that has trust, integrity, accountability. I mean, I don't think I've really said something here brand new. Everyone in this room already knows about this. I just want you to connect these thoughts, these qualities, because in the next 3 minutes, if I may, 3 minutes, I would ask whoever wants to raise their hand, give me one attribute. Everybody could give me just one attribute. I don't know if we have somebody who's writing this. Can you just take a note of this? Great. Yeah. One attribute, if I asked you, how can we strengthen our organization? If you had a choice to say, work on this, and we will have a great organization. We will have a strong organization. I'll give a chance to whoever raises their hand, but one chance per person, and say yours one time. So please don't repeat it. Starting from Shahid Bhai. One thing.
Yes. Follow up.
Follow up. Thank you. Yes. Communication, thank you. Communication, that's fine. Teamwork, so repeating some of these ideas here, great. Proactive with some and ta'a, very interesting. I wish I had time for ask you. There's some story behind that those words. Yes, next one, Ji Matlu bhai. Well, okay. Amir should strengthen the local nazm. Be specific. Be specific. I think I'm just. I mean, no. It's not. You just say it. Say it. Empower your leadership. I think what you're saying, empowering your leadership, because that is a problem. A lot of times we see that. Okay, next. Commitment with a sense of meaning and purpose. Okay, good. Don't delay decisions. Hey, one second. Let's just brother say. Commitment to engage more people, more youth. Okay. Will that make your organization stronger? Is that what you're trying to say? Please think about how can you make the organization stronger. You're saying commitment to engaging more youth. Okay, interesting. Okay, Neil bhai. Planning, interesting. Okay. On this side, we'll go to that side, inshallah. Yes. Consistency, interesting. Okay, that's a good one actually. Who's next behind there?
I was gonna say planning, but also resource allocation.
Planning and resource allocation. Great. Okay. Yes. Okay. Delegate responsibility, create a team, for example, right? Okay. Yes, brother. Make sure you have diversity of thought. Just don't kind of, bring in the same type of people. Okay, that's great. Next.
Follow through.
We had to follow through. A second one for follow through. Thank you.
Listen to all of your members and try to give their idea a chance to, they can work on it.
Listen to all the members and give their ideas a chance. Don't just discard them right away. That you have no idea what to do, right? So don't do that. Yes. Who's next? Who haven't spoken? Yes. What's that? Don't break promises. Don't break promises. Wonderful. Okay, that's really a good one. Hello. I would love to know the story behind it, but that's fine.
I would say groom the leadership, not the managership, because there is a distinction between being a manager and being a leader. So grooming the leadership is very important to strengthen a voluntary organization and not groom, not support, not reward the managers.
Okay. All right, Salman bhai, last one, inshallah, will be second last. Huh? Quick. We have Adhan is coming up, please, quickly.
Two elements, which is very important. Love and respect.
Love and respect. Jazakallah khair. Last one here.
So accountability and continuous improvement.
Accountability and?
Continuous improvement.
Continuous improvement. Jazakumullah khair. So brothers, thank you very much for your honesty. Thank you very much for being very candid. And thank you really helping us to really highlight, because I really wish we have time, and I would love to be able to rank these, right? All these that we talked about, these qualities, and which are the five topmost qualities that we need to really, and if we have time in the future, I don't know if we're going to have time or not, but I would like to really rate them and give everybody a chance to give a vote for one of them and see which one turns out to be the top. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.